Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tess Taylor, and I'm a specialist with the Community Education Department at MDA. We're thrilled to have you join us today for the second day of our MDA virtual learning series on Charcot-Marie-Tooth, or CMT. This learning event is part of our larger MDA community education program, which focuses on bringing the neuromuscular disease community together around education and resources. Be sure to visit the community education section on mda.org for updates on upcoming events. We are recording today's event and we'll be posting it to the website for on-demand viewing at a later date. Everyone registered for our session today will receive that information in their inbox. Please note that all phone lines have been muted, but you can still ask questions. We will have a Q&A session at the end of our presentations today, so use the chat or Q&A feature in Zoom if you're here live with us, or type in your questions. Feel free to ask as many questions as you want, and we will try to get to as many as we can. For nearly 75 years, MDA has led the way in funding research to accelerate the development of new treatments, expanding access to care and clinical trials through the MDA Care Center Network, and advocating for access and inclusion for the neuromuscular disease community. MDA delivers its mission through research, access to care, advocacy, education, recreation, and engagement. Since its inception, MDA has invested more than $1.1 billion in neuromuscular disease research. Our MDA care centers are located at over 150 top medical institutions nationwide, providing care from clinicians who specialize in neuromuscular disease. MDA advocacy work focuses on support for accelerated approvals and novel research, access to healthcare, accessible air travel, and more. This focus plays a vital role in shaping laws and policies that support the needs of people living with rare neuromuscular diseases. Our community education and recreation programs are designed to connect individuals and families. We are committed to building a nurturing environment where our members can share experiences, triumphs, and challenges. Every year, we offer over 40 educational programs, over 20 summer camps, and dozens of other community activities, both in person and online. If you haven't done so already, we invite you to join the MDA community by registering with us. Registration is free. Please see the link in the chat. And to learn more about MDA, please visit www.mda.org. This is the second day of our two-day event regarding CMT. We have two presentations planned for today. I would like to remind you, if you were not able to join us yesterday, that session will be recorded and uploaded in the next few weeks, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. But we're very happy today to have Mitch Warner. He's the president of Ortho Rehab Designs and Helios Bracing Incorporated. He will be presenting on orthotics and bracing for CMT. And then at 4 o'clock, we have a meaningful presentation surrounding building resilience and community, in which we will hear from Lily Sander, who's MDA's 2025 National Ambassador, and Estela Lugo, who is the Program Development Manager at the Hereditary Neuropathy Foundation. MDA is proud to partner with HNF, the Hereditary Neuropathy Foundation, for this special two-day event. If you have not already done so, we encourage you to visit hnf-cure.org for information on CMT, patient resources, ongoing research, and ways to get involved. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Mitch Warner. Mitch is a prosthetist and orthotist, and he is the president of Ortho Rehab Designs and Helio Bracing, and he will be presenting with us today. Hi, Mitch. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Tess. Thank you for the introduction, and I'd like to thank the MDA and HNF for hosting this event. I'm very happy to be here. I'm in my office right now in Las Vegas, in my clinic. So today's talk is going to be the ABCs of AFOs. And just before we start, I'd like to let everyone know watching that I actually wear an AFO. I've been wearing devices most of my life. Since I'm a kid, I'm wearing all different types of devices. And as an adult, I'm a full-time wearer of an AFO. So again, my name is Mitch Warner. I'm an American board certified prosthetist orthotist. I'm the owner at Ortho Rehab Designs. I'm the inventor of the Helios energy storing orthosis, and I do specialize in CMT bracing. Something jumped. Hang on a second here. So, what is an AFO? Uh, that's a good question for certain people because I always ask the question, is an AFO a product or a medical device? Well, it's a combination of both. So if somebody's buying something on the internet or in a drugstore, it's just basically then a product. But if you have a clinician working with you, it is a medical service with a device. So it's a combination of both. It's just not a product. So an ankle foot orthosis, it's a brace that supports your foot and ankle. It helps you lift your foot up. It should help you improve your balance and reduce falls. For some people, wearing a brace means walking smoother, faster, and with less effort. There are other devices called a KAFO, which means it's an extension of the AFO. So it's going up past the knee up to the upper thigh. It has knee joints on it, and that's for CMT patients that have knee weakness, for example, their quadriceps don't work, or they may have knee hyperextension. So it's an addition to an AFO. We mostly, I would say, probably about 80 to 85% of my patients were below the knee AFO. But then you do get into the category of the KFO, which is a more complex brace. Ah, there we go. Why does bracing matter in CMT? Well, it matters a lot. I mean, if you think about treatments for CMT, a leg brace is the best treatment anybody with CMT can get for their walking or for their balance. So what goes on with CMT? Why would a brace matter? What do you need from it? Well, you have foot drop, meaning your toes drag when you walk. You can trip, you can fall. Associated balance problems as well. A lot of patients that I see, they come in and they say, Mitch, I can't even stand for a minute or 2 minutes without holding on to something. So balance is a big consideration because when you have a foot drop and you have balance loss, you're losing your foundation of support to stand. So I tell all of my patients, we have to get your foundation reestablished. We have to get your base back because if you can't stand with balance, you can't walk with balance. So when I see a patient and I'm correcting them with, I use the Helios orthosis, which is our design here. The first thing I want to do is correct their balance. And so if I'm fitting them, I have them in the room here. Actually, this is the room where I fit all of my patients where I'm right now. I have my patients stand for 5 minutes before I actually let them walk to test their balance and make sure everything's feeling good. And usually after about 5 or 10 minutes, we start to see an improvement. Also, why bracing matters with CMT associated with that is muscle weakness and fatigue. So people walking without braces, you're getting a higher oxygen consumption. You're getting more tired throughout the day. And that's not a good thing. And that causes a lot of fatigue in the musculature as well. Also, we have joint deformity. The joints can collapse because the ligaments are overstretched and the tendons are getting overstretched. On the other side, sometimes we have contractures where the foot has collapsed so much that the Achilles tendon has shortened. And sometimes the front of the foot cannot be lifted up to 90 degrees, which is an ideal angle for a brace. So contractures are present as well. We get changes in foot shape, meaning high arches or ankles turning inward or outward. So an ankle turning outward is what is commonly known as supination. Inward is pronation. And a lot of these deviations really need to be assessed properly before making a corrective brace. Let's talk about gait deviations. What are the most common gait deviations with CMT? Well, hip hiking and lateral trunk bending. So why do patients hip hike with CMT if they're not wearing a brace? Why? Because they can't dorsiflex. Their foot cannot lift up off the ground, their toes drag. So without a brace, they start lifting up at the hips, and it creates what we call a steppage gait or like a marching gait. And this again will overtax the patient's hip flexors, create more fatigue. It's a vicious cycle and also can lead to more falling. So without bracing, walking can take on more energy, cause more trips and falls, and speed up your joint deterioration and deformity. With bracing, you can gain independence, you can get back your safety, confidence in life, and stability. Again, I can't overemphasize getting back your stability and balance because, unlike a lot of other diseases out there with CMT, balance is severely affected, probably more than anything I've seen. Okay, so if you go to an appointment to get evaluated for a prescription for an orthosis, most likely you're going to see a neurologist for a prescription. Also, you're going to see a lot of people see orthopedic surgeons. You may see a family doctor. But if you go to a neurologist, they're going to run their tests and they're going to make an assessment and they're going to write you a prescription for AFOs. Now, what's interesting is a lot of times when we receive prescriptions for AFOs, what does the prescription say? It says AFO. Sometimes it doesn't say custom or off the shelf or anything. It just says AFO. So sometimes the neurologist or the doctor, the orthopedic surgeon, they're leaving it up to us to meet with the patient and assess them and see what the best AFO for that patient's needs are. So when you see an orthotist, they will check your muscle strength in your lower legs, your foot, your ankle, your hip strength. Now, also hands can be important. I don't run tests for the hands. If I see a patient, well, I'm going to fit and I'm concerned that their hands are really weak or they told me, I'll just say, squeeze my hand. And if they can squeeze my hand pretty good, I'm not worried about them putting, the brace on and off or doing the Velcro. But if the hands are very weak, sometimes you have to make accessories like longer Velcro or adding leather, something that's just going to make it easier for them to don and doff the orthosis. Balance and walking style, that's what we call gait. So the orthotist should watch how you walk. We're looking for gait deviations, like we said earlier, steppage gait, lifting at the hip, lateral trunk bending. We want to see this because these are things we want to correct once you get the orthosis. We don't want you doing this anymore when you get a brace. So, shoe style. Shoe style, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to, there we go. Shoe style and fit. Bring your everyday shoes with you. Shoes are a big topic of conversation with my patients. A lot of patients don't have a problem wearing sneakers. I always recommend sneakers or tennis shoes for your first fitting. Why? Because they have room, they're comfortable, and they work really good with braces. But you should bring the shoes that you normally wear to the office for the orthotist, and there's no guarantee what you have is going to work. So you have to remember, if you're a size 7 shoe, you go to the shoe store, you get fit for a size 7, but that's for your foot. That's for your anatomical foot. It doesn't take into consideration the orthosis, which is going around your foot, and now that's going to take some more room. So a lot of patients normally need to go up a half size to a size, which is pretty common. Allergies or skin conditions. Well, I don't see too many people with allergies or skin conditions. Occasionally it comes up. But if you do have an allergy, let your orthotist know about it. Like, for example, if you're allergic to a certain type of material, maybe from a brace you had before, or a certain type of padding. As orthotists, we have the access to many different types of foams that we can switch out and see which ones the patient will accept better and not cause skin problems. The other thing too, if you're getting fit with an orthosis, you want to moisturize your skin. You don't want dry skin, flaky skin, because that's going to get more susceptible to skin irritation. Your lifestyle goals. What are your goals? Well, if I ask the average person, what do you expect to achieve with this brace? Most people just say, I want to be able to walk normally. I want to be able to stand. I can't stand. I have to hold on to my husband, or I walk down a hallway. I grab walls, I grab furniture. People look at me and they wonder what's going on. So to me, that's the most important lifestyle goal I could accomplish to give a patient and get them better balance, and then they could walk longer. Some people want to play with the kids. I get some patients and mothers, and they say, "Hey, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. I can't keep up with them because I can't walk." So, I mean, these are very common and realistic goals that you should discuss with your orthotist. Okay, so we're going to discuss the different types of AFOs. In today's world, there's many different types of AFOs. When I first got out of prosthetic school, there were different types, but not near as many as there are today. So let's talk about plastic AFOs. Plastic or thermoplastic AFOs are kind of like that whitish material. It's a plastic brace. Most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, they're custom made over a mold of your leg. So we still see patients with a lot of those braces, and those are fine if they're correcting you and you're walking better. Another popular category of bracing are the carbon fiber AFOs. Now, there's two types. There's custom and there's off the shelf. I fit patients with my Helios design. I only fit custom-made braces out of carbon fiber. I do not fit off the shelf. I'm not saying anything negative about that. It's just what I do in my practice. But we do get a lot of people who have tried off the shelf and other types of braces as well. What's different about the carbon fiber orthoses is that well, not all of them, but ours is an energy storing design. So when the patient walks on it, they lean into it, it compresses, it stores energy. And when the heel and the foot come off the ground, when they start swinging their leg, it gives a boost of energy. It helps swing the leg forward. So that's what an energy storing design does predominantly. There's other types of braces out there too. I mean, there's jointed AFOs, which I have fit many in the past. Jointed AFOs, you have to really, again, speak to your orthotist, because the problem you can run into is the range of motion. If there's not enough range of motion or there's too much range of motion, that could be a problem with a joint. So there's many different types of joints. And what's interesting is that some joints have energy return and some are just passive. So you should really know and do research and ask your orthotist what type of joint this is if you're getting a jointed brace. The other thing about jointed braces are that they do need maintenance. They are not maintenance free. So I would say every 6 months you need to check in with your orthotist and have them take a look at that. Now, KFOs, we touched upon that earlier. KFO is for a patient who has quadriceps weakness primarily. So for somebody, they can't control their knee joint, the quads are just too weak where they're going to collapse, the knees will just buckle. Or their knees can buckle, and also they have a hyperextension deformity, which the medical term is called a genu recurvatum. That's another term for hyperextension. So genu recurvatum means hyperextension that goes backward beyond 15 degrees. So I've seen patients with genu recurvatum of 30 degrees and up, and that's a 100% case for a KFO design. So of course, predominantly you want to choose the right AFO for you. Well, how do you know what's the right AFO for you? You may have seen something on the internet. Your friend may have told you something. Your doctor may have said something. But again, you should really listen, find a good orthotist, listen to what they say, let them evaluate you. So there's custom AFOs. And what is a custom AFO? Custom AFO is when the orthotist takes a mold of your leg. So they're wrapping mostly fiberglass material around your leg. They're cutting the fiberglass off. They're sealing the mold and they are pouring the mold. So they're making an anatomical duplicate of your anatomy of your leg. And what goes into that is alignment changes, anatomical corrections to make the brace fit perfectly. And that's a long process, and that's what's involved in custom. You have the other category of off-the-shelf AFOs. So what is an off-the-shelf AFO? Basically, it's not custom made. It comes out of a box. So typically an off-the-shelf AFO, they come in left and right, small, medium, and large, or extra large. And if you have a skilled orthotist, I mean, they could customize it a little bit for you, but that's basically the two main categories. Now, I don't have it on here, but there's another category of AFO, which I'm not producing yet. I'm doing research and development with that right now. And that's the 3D printed AFO. So what's cool about the 3D printed AFO? Well, you would take, instead of taking a mold, you're going to take a scan of the patient's leg, right? So you take a scan with a camera, it scans digitally the leg. Then that digital scan goes into software on the computer. Instead of working on a plaster mold, your orthotist is working on the computer, digitally correcting your anatomy, then doing the design work, and then it goes off to a 3D printer, and a 3D printer prints out the AFO. Now, right now, really, I would say maybe 1% of the field, I could be wrong, or 2%, is doing anything for adults with 3D printed. And why is that? Because well, if you've ever seen a 3D printer, and some of you out there may have, a lot of them don't have a big build space. So in other words, they can't contain the space for an adult sized leg. So mostly what we're seeing in the field are 3D printed braces for pediatrics because they're smaller, they're going to fit in the printer much better, and the children are going to grow out of them. Well, what's so cool about this technology is, let's say you have somebody who you printed out a 3D brace for, and they had a small anatomical change, and the current brace, their current orthosis no longer fits them. You can go into the software, make those anatomical changes digitally, and then reprint them in AFO. But that's future. I just wanted to discuss that. Like I said, we're doing research and development on that right now. I'm not currently offering that, but in the future, I can see that's what my practice is going to start doing. Things to consider about your leg and a brace. What is the shape of your foot? I mean, are you aware of what your foot's doing? Is it rolling outward? Is it collapsing? Is it flat? Sometimes I'll speak to patients on the phone for an initial phone consult, and I ask them, is your foot rolling outward or inward? And some of them know, but a lot of them don't know. So that's why I like to see videos of patients, and we'll touch on that later. But you want to really know what your foot is doing with your orthotist, and that's really going to be the best way to get a proper evaluation to know what that brace is going to correct and help you. Also, drop foot severity. Is it mild, or is it severe? I'll be quite honest with you. Most patients, I would say 90% of the patients that come to see me are severe. I very rarely see a person with a mild drop foot. Now, sometimes what's interesting is sometimes I'll speak to somebody on the phone, a potential patient, with a phone consult, and I'll say, "Oh, well, do you have a bad drop foot?" "Oh, no, it's not that bad. I don't wear my shoes in the house. I'm okay." And then when they come in, it's actually the opposite. It's severe, and they're tripping quite a bit. So, did the person not give the right information? No, some people just don't know. They're not aware of how bad their joints are and their condition. Weight and fatigue. Let's talk about weight of a brace. Nobody wants a heavy brace. Custom-made braces can be a little slightly heavier in weight than an off-the-shelf brace because the off-the-shelf braces, they're very thin. There's not much to them. The foot plates don't wrap around the side of the person's foot. Custom-made brace is going to incorporate more anatomy and stabilize the limb more from my professional point of view. So those are things to consider. The only heavy braces that I see today, and I don't see a lot of them. Actually, I saw one at one of the recent H&F Summit meetings. A person had a very heavy metal brace, but that was okay because the person had a severe swelling problem, and they could not be contained in a conditional, traditional brace because the leg would swell so much. So those are one of those exceptions. Knee impact. What is knee impact? And when we talk about knee impact, we're talking about shoes, heel heights. So, for example, if you have weak quads and your knees tend to buckle, you don't want to get a higher heel because that angulation, that inclination is going to make your knees flex a little bit more and give into your weakness and could make you fall. So you're going to want a flatter shoe. On the other side of it, if you have, like we said earlier, a hyperextension deformity where your knees are going backward, you may want a standard heel. You don't want a lower one because then you want your knees to slightly flex to get out of that hyperextension attitude. But the caveat to that is you have to have decent quads to control it. Otherwise, you'll fall forward. So all different things to consider before getting into the perfect brace for each CMT patient. Okay, so let's look at some commonly asked questions. I get a new brace. What if it doesn't work? Well, it's usually adjustments. So adjustments can be made, and sometimes they take a few visits. Unless the brace is just so off that it doesn't fit you, that's something totally different. But if the brace fits you, you could walk in it, you're getting a benefit, but something feels off, you could adjust. And a lot of times it's with padding or trimming. That's usually pretty easy. How long does a brace take to get used to? Well, anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. I mean, when I see a patient and on the last day of fitting them, we give them a checkout sheet and it goes over the fitting schedule, and we state just to break the brace in 1 week. But it could take you up to a few months. And some people say, wow, a few months, why so long? Well, you're dealing with neuropathy. You're dealing with musculature that's not getting any neurological input for the muscle to move or diminished. Now, think about a person, if you're out of shape and you sign up and you go to a gym and you hire a personal trainer and you work out, are you going to get there in 1 day to your goal? Are you going to get there in 1 week? No. Your muscles need to get exercise. They need to build up muscle memory. Proprioception is all part of that too, especially with balancing conditions. So basically, what am I saying? Give your body time. Don't be in a rush. Take it 1 day at a time. You will get there. Another question is, do I wear the braces all day? Well, once you get used to them, usually yes, you'll wear it all day because if you don't wear it, you're going to trip and fall and you're not going to have balance. Another question is that comes up not too often in my practice, but people say, "Oh, can I run in the braces?" Well, with energy storing braces, it has that potential. Quite honestly, I don't have too many patients that run. I have a few. And the reason for that is, with CMT, once your nervous system is not getting the full impulse to the musculature, you may lose that ability with the balancing considerations in one package. So you don't want to do an activity that's going to set you up for further strain or set you up for a fall. But for some people, if you have the potential to run, yeah, of course, it's a possibility, but it can't be guaranteed. So with your orthotist, be honest about your lifestyle goals. I mean, if you're still working, I ask patients, are you working? What do you do for a living? I'm not trying to be nosy. I just want to find out, are you on your feet all day? Do you use your legs for anything in your work? Are you walking around a lot? Do you work in construction? It could be anything. Are you a police officer? So all of these occupations come into effect in what kind of a brace you're going to design for somebody as well. Wear shoes that work with your brace. Don't say, hey, I have to wear high heels or I have to wear fancy designer shoes because most likely they're not going to work. Like I wear a brace myself. I told you that before. Not only do I wear a brace, I wear two different size shoes. So my left foot is a 10 and a half and my right foot is an 8.5. So once I find an 8.5 shoe that fits my brace, now I have to find the other size. So I go through a two with shoes. You just have to shop, find the shoe that's going to fit with your brace, have patience, you'll get there. Expect follow-up visits for adjustments. Speak and advocate for your adjustments if you need them. Don't be shy about it. If you feel you need further adjustments, let your orthotist know. Your orthotist wants to help you. Your orthotist wants to see you use the braces that they fabricated for you. So speak with your orthotist, and it'll be a pleasure for them to help you. Physical therapy. What can we say about physical therapy? Well, if you need it, I think it's great. Physical therapy or personal trainer, somebody to help, target the muscles that are weak, somebody who understands the muscle groups that you need to walk better and have better balance, let them target those. And I highly recommend anybody who's having weakness or issues with balance when you walk, work with a physical therapist. They will help you. And don't give up too soon. Don't give up too soon. Let the braces do their job. You have to practice. You have to practice. I mean, I get some patients who used to play a lot of golf. Like, oh, Mitch, if I get your braces, can I play golf again? And my answer is, I don't know. I'm making you braces to stabilize your body, to give you your foundation back, to get you better balance and stability, to make you walk better. Once you achieve that, then yeah, then maybe you could try playing golf and then maybe you'll do better. But it's a process. Okay, so HNF AFO support. If you haven't seen it, the Hereditary Neuropathy Foundation has an incredible website. Right here on this slide is a QR code. If you use the QR code, it will take you to their AFO guide, which you can download, and I helped write that guide for them, with them rather. They also have incredible patient resources on their website. I know Allison and Estella and the entire H&F team, they put a lot of work into their website. So I really recommend going there, checking out what they have, check out their patient resources. I think you'll be happy and you're going to learn a lot from their website. So I think I have a video coming up. It's a patient who has CMT who I fit actually not too long ago. She had a complete foot drop, basically below the knee, nothing was working. Her name is Kami or Cami. And let's see her before and after, and let's see what that looks like.
I'm Kami, and I'm in Las Vegas getting fit for my new Helios.
So you'll see here she has a complete foot drop and balancing situation. You'll see she keeps grabbing the parallel bars. If you see her knee popping backwards, she also has that hyperextension condition we talked about earlier, but she is not a KFO candidate. She can be helped with braces below her knee. Now here she is for the first time practicing going up and down a ramp, and now you'll see she has a heel to toe gait. She's not doing that steppage gait anymore. She's not lifting up from her hips. And watch, even going up the ramp, her heels hit first and she rolls over. So this is her first time walking outside.
It's stability, yeah. If you didn't feel stable, you wouldn't be putting your hands on your hips.
So again, this is practicing going up and down a curb, which she had lost the ability to do. It was very hard for her. So I'm teaching her how to go up and down a curb. Is this possible for everyone? No, but she's able to do it quite well. We have to congratulate her for her first time. She excelled.
Wow,
Yeah, a little stride.
that was a good one.
Getting better at going down.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Speaking about video, this slide talks about our video gait technique that we have here at Ortho Rehab Designs and Helios Bracing. So I see an awful lot of CMT patients from out of state and out of the country. And we always tell them, because they're concerned about, well, suppose I come to your clinic in Las Vegas and I'm not a good candidate. Because of that, I offer a video evaluation. Well, I'll evaluate somebody's gait. So in other words, if you wanted me to evaluate your gait, we should have a phone conversation first. But once we do that, I will encourage you to send me video with instructions. I'll send you a password. And once I get to evaluate your gait and you're walking barefoot in a pair of shorts, I can tell you whether or not I think you are a good candidate for the Helios brace. And we've been doing that for years. Patients love it. Again, I don't know if I mentioned, I don't charge to do it and there's no obligation. It's just in the interest of the patient. Well, let's talk about the 2026 H&F Summit in Ellicott City, Maryland, 2026. I recommend anyone who's never been to an H&F Summit to attend. If you've been there to one of their summits before, I know you're going to want to go again. I think I've been to all of their summits. This picture right here, there's me in the middle talking to a group of people interested in bracing who were there in Nashville. So what I do there, I'm going to be at the next summit in 2026. What I do there is I do complimentary leg brace evaluations. If you're there and you see me and you sign up for an evaluation, I will test your muscle strength. I'll watch your gait. I'll do a gait analysis, talk to you about different bracing considerations and any questions you may have regarding a brace. I'm there to help and give you my opinion. So again, I really recommend you going to their summit. They have so much research and so many panelists that present great information. So again, Hereditary Neuropathy Foundation, they have so much. Here's another QR code. They have so much support and resources. They have doctors on their website, bracing section, surgery, genetic testing, adaptive driving, family planning, anything you can think of. They have it on their website. I mean, they really are a dedicated group. This is all they think about, and they put all of their heart and strength into this website to make it as perfect as possible for you, the CMT patient. So anyway, I believe that concludes the webinar on the ABCs of AFOs, and I'll be here if anybody has any questions, and I hope you do.
Thank you so much, Mitch. That was a wonderful presentation and a lot of great feedback in the chat as well, especially for the video. So we do have some questions from the chat. Our first one we got in was, I wear carbon AFOs, but I have problems using one of them when I drive. I can't use the one for my right foot. I also have had an Achilles surgery to correct my right foot. Would a hinged AFO be a better fit?
Well, I mean, I don't think so because again, a hinged AFO, you're talking, well, if you're just talking about for driving and not walking with it, possibly. Because with a hinged AFO, you're talking about plantar flexion. In other words, here, if I can be, yeah, I can be seen here. So in other words, here's a skeleton of a foot at neutral. So you want to push down on the gas, right? Like this. So if you have a hinged AFO that lets you push down on the gas, that creates a drop foot. Okay. So that may be good for driving, but not so much for walking or stability. So I would say try practicing kind of like pushing your foot up and down on the gas pedal. If it's too much of a hardship and you can't do it, consider hand controls.
Great advice. Thank you. Our next question from the chat was, there are running sneakers with carbon plates. I'm wondering if these could help with energy return.
Running sneakers with carbon foot plates. I have no experience with that. From my opinion, if you have a drop foot, I don't think so. But on the other hand, if you maybe just have some weakness from CMT and you don't have a drop foot, you can try it. But it's from my point of view, I couldn't give you an answer because I've never tried it.
Okay, thank you. So what do the carbon fiber braces cost?
Well, there's all different price ranges, and based on the video assessment and what a person needs is different models. So if somebody really wants to get a proper cost, the best thing is to call me because I mean, if you're talking about off the shelf to custom, there's so many varieties. There's a big variety of prices, so it's really hard to say.
Okay, thanks. That makes sense. Our next question is, should custom fitting molds be taken while full weight bearing? My foot changes totally when I put weight on it.
If you think your foot totally changes when putting weight on it, it just depends. Now, I would say yes, but yes with the question, do you need correction at your foot and ankle? What kind of deformity do you have? Because here's the thing. If you have deformity, and when I correct patients, I take molds weight bearing and non-weight bearing. But if your orthotist needs to grab your foot and ankle and correct it, so in other words, let's say it's rotating outward and it needs to be corrected inward where you want to turn it and lift the joints up. You really can't do that while the person's weight bearing, and it depends also too, how much the person weighs. So it's really up to your orthotist. But I would say if your orthotist, to this question, if your orthotist feels they can get a corrective mold for your condition while you're standing, that's fine. And this question has come up before with my patients, and I always tell them this. You can get a corrective mold standing. You can take a corrective mold standing. You could take a corrective mold sitting, not weight bearing, but you can't take a corrective mold walking. And when the patient, think about that, yeah, it's interesting because when the patient walks, things change. But to answer this person's question, if you think your foot changes that much on weight bearing, if your orthotist can take a weight bearing mode, that's totally acceptable.
Okay, thanks. So how long after corrective tendon surgery should a person be fit for new braces?
That's not a question for me. That's a question for the surgeon.
Got
Because
it.
depending on what they did in your healing process, they're going to let you know when they think you're ready to get an AFO.
Perfect, thanks. So how often should you replace your braces? Medicare covers a replacement every 5 years. Is that sufficient?
Well, yes and no. It just depends. I mean, if you have an anatomical change, I mean, just to let you know, I'm not a Medicare provider, but if you have an anatomical change within 3 years and the brace no longer fits you, your doctor has to document it along with your orthotist to put the documentation through and say, hey, look, this person maybe lost 30 pounds, or this person atrophied, or this person got weaker. Here's the medical documentation that I need a new brace. Same thing goes on. We're not talking here about prosthetics, artificial limbs, but I'm also a prosthetist. With an artificial limb and amputee, if their limb changes within a 3-year period, it's the same situation. But yeah, if you have a concern and you have Medicare, go to your orthotist and see if they can get an approval to get that paperwork through and get your new device if you can't wear it anymore.
Okay, thanks. And is that the same for children as well? Because with kids, their feet are constantly growing and changing. So how often should children be reassessed?
Well, you can't predict growth in children. And I get these questions from parents, That's why I don't recommend carbon fiber devices for children, because carbon fiber are non-adjustable. And they're going to be, in general, they're going to be more expensive than plastic, no matter what type you get. So as far as children, you can't predict it. It's when you see the brace is no longer fitting anymore. So maybe if you have a length of the leg and it's fitting too short, or the foot can't get in there, it's too tight. That's what you have to go by. You have to check it, just like how do you know when they outgrow shoes? It's the same thing. They get too big for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So our next question, what should I do if my brace causes rubbing or pain or skin breakdown?
Well, see your orthotist. Let your orthotist know, and see what they can do about it. And that sounds like a lot's going on. So if you're getting skin breakdown, it's for a reason. I mean, if you have a condition, you may have sensitive skin. You could be allergic to something. I don't know what the background is on this question, but if let's say you got a new brace and you had skin breakdown or irritation, tell your orthotist.
Mm.
I mean, it happens. So they can fix it because they have access to adjustments, padding, all different techniques to help you out.
Yeah, case by case. With orthotics, it seems like, especially orthotics, it's like very case by case.
It is case by case. And that's why I only do custom, because case by case, everybody's different. You just said it, case by case. Case
Mhm.
by case, does anybody have the same shaped legs? No. Case by
Yeah,
case, does anybody have the same weakness? No. So, so that's why my practice is primarily focused on custom made AFOs. Some practices only fit off the shelf, but everybody has to do what works for their clinic.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I want to thank you, Mitch, for your time and your support of our CMT program today with MDA and HNF. We know you're a really important partner with HNF, so we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today and for your wonderful presentation.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.